Thank God Johnny's here.
God damn it, Ron. Alrighty, guys, welcome to episode number 9 of the Vision Cast. Our guest, the esteemed brother of Tom Reilly, the John Reilly. John, thank you so much for stopping by. I know that you have worked for VMI. You have worked for several other brands and brick and mortar stores, and now you are in law enforcement. We are all friends and family of law enforcement officers. I know that was a long description. How is it making that transition from this industry in whatever capacity to now law enforcement?
It was definitely very different. You know, it's spent almost a better part of a decade in sports nutrition, you know, working for retails and brands, and then complete 180 to law enforcement, which couldn't be totally different from sales, right? It's a very high stress position, but different from sales in the sense that sales, it's, you're making phone calls, talking to customers, everything's kind of calm, cool, and collected, whereas in law enforcement, you're jumping from one thing to the next, and you never know what you're walking into. And really, really gets me upset when you mention I was part of family with Tom.
And how was that working with your brother? I'm very curious.
Honestly, it wasn't bad. It was just terrible.
Yeah.
It was,
That's good. That's good. I'll remember that. I'll remember that.
No, it was honestly, it was definitely different. I enjoyed a lot of the aspects working here with Tom and Frank. Not just saying that because they're paying me to.
Listen, it's tough working with family. I get it. I worked with my father for, 20 years. It's very difficult. So I understand it.
Yeah, I think, not for nothing, I mean, my first job was waiting tables and literally building tables at my uncle's burger joints.
Well, baklava?
No, cheeseburgers.
Burger joints. Gotcha.
Yeah, that would be a
Cheeseburger.
Yeah, so I think a good topic to us to kind of get into is working with family members and your siblings. So working for my uncles, it was very, there were some funny moments, and the, let's call it constructive criticism, was more like being reprimanded rather than, hey, maybe you want to try this way. Hey, listen, you dumb fuck. You put ketchup on the burger. So it's...
That was constructive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You dumb fuck. So I guess the question that I would ask you is, in terms of getting things done, when it came to day-to-day stuff, was it easier? Was it harder? How was that communication? How was your experience?
I think it was interesting working with family because there was a lot of things I was able to come over and learn from Tom. But yeah, it was, it was hard when, if I made a mistake or if I messed up something, it's different when, it's not just your boss. And yeah, it's your brother, right? You're kind of reprimanding you and telling you like, hey, here's where you messed up. And then, there's times where we would get into it. And it was, it was kind of difficult because you got to take a step back and remember like, hey, this is your boss, not just your brother.
Yeah.
But it's also hard too, right? Like I might have had a good point, but he's my brother and who has more experience in the industry. So it might have been harder for him because he's been doing it this way for so long.
Yeah,
sure.
And I might have had a good way to bring about it. So like, it's how do you bring that together, right? Like,
exactly.
how do you communicate and him remembering that he's not just my boss, but my brother, and me remembering that he's not just my brother, he's my boss.
Exactly. I think it's finding that
communication,
that good synergy in terms of the relationship that you guys already would have. I mean, there's not a lot of people, some aren't fortunate enough to have a good relationship with their siblings, so I think that may have helped in your work relationship, or maybe it didn't.
I'll say this in a sibling way: if you move that chair less, it'll squeak less.
Right? I'm sorry, I'm very antsy.
I know, I see that.
I was very invigorated.
It's okay. I felt the same way when I worked here.
I know, yeah.
Oh, so it's easier sitting on this
side. Yeah, it really is. Let me tell you. So I know you also haven't just worked for VMI. You've worked for Cellucor. You've worked for Steve at Natural Body. How were those experiences? I'm not going to say compared to here, but in terms of, I'm assuming you learned a lot from different aspects of the business to then bring it.
It was definitely, retail is one of those things where I always tell people, retail is where probably I learned the most because you talk with the end consumer all day long. But it takes the most wear and tear. Like, you just get the same person coming up to you asking the same, because everybody wants, how do I lose weight?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you do X, Y, and Z. Well, I just want Y. Y doesn't work. There's no special pill, right? Like, if there was, we'd all be thin and looking great, today. But you also learn a lot because you get all that information. What is the end consumer looking for, right? So now, all right, end consumers want X, Y, and Z from this product. And then I was able to bring that to the brand side and understand it better. And then that way I was able to sell to the retailer better because I was like, I could walk in and say, I know what your customer's looking for. I've talked to them. Here's what my product does. I'm not going to, I never walked into a retailer and said, hey, listen, every one of my products is great. It should be on your shelf tomorrow. Yeah. We don't love that, but it doesn't work that way. But I've got 3 products that I know your customers are asking for. Yeah. They have the ingredients. This is what they're looking for. So I always tell people, start at retail, but you can't stay in it forever. It takes too much wear and tear from you. It's the same thing over and over and over again. And working for the brand, I would say I had more fun. Working for a brand can be a lot of fun. Cellucor, worked for a great team, a lot of fun. Met different retailers, went to different places, saw a lot of different things. But I felt like I definitely learned more in working in retail.
And I know both of you come from a retail background as well.
We all do.
That's what I'm saying. So, I mean,
I taught them everything they know.
I know. Yeah. That's what he tells me.
What's interesting, so Frank had GNC experience before I did. Then I worked at GNC retail. His dad owned GNCs. But then I worked at GNC retail as my first foray into the industry. And same thing for John's. Just to a weird kind of GNC and vitamin shop, I think, where everybody starts if you end up having longevity in the business.
Yeah, exactly.
Just not there.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't work at GNC, so clearly it shows.
Yeah, we read your resume.
Yeah, it's really not much to shine up to. But so with all that being said and gaining those communication skills and speaking to retailers, things like that, now you're transitioning to law enforcement. Is there anything in particular that you could even think of that you could or have already taken from your experiences in this industry to then law enforcement, whether it be communicating to citizens, the higher ups, whatever it may be?
I will say this. Having been in that position where I've talked to, been in retail where you just have people coming up to you asking questions nonstop, and then, working for a brand where it's cold calling a lot, right? Like you're constantly picking up the phone and calling somebody you've never talked to before in a different city with a different accent, them trying to understand you. Now you got to pitch them a product or, tell them about your experiences and trying to form that relationship.
Yeah, I don't see the problem. I don't see that.
Do you always feel that you have to interrupt me?
Yep.
Does that make you feel tough, strong at the end of the table with your black shirt?
Keep it up. Keep it up.
It's called deodorant, buddy.
All right.
Maybe use some. Anyways.
It's a low low.
I mean, someone's not getting invited to the barbecue this weekend,
Jeez. Wow.
I mean, there's a reason we don't work together anymore. No, I'm kidding. No, I would say, honestly, all I do now is talk to the public, right? You're constantly showing up to someone's door. You're own in their house. You're talking to people. Like, I have no fear of talking to people. Like, I'll talk to anybody. That's not a problem. But I acquired that through working for retail and having to cold call people constantly and talk to different people. And how are you going to form that relationship, right? I always look at it as every call I ever made was like going on an interview. You got to sell yourself to the person that's interviewing you.
Yeah. At least for me, in my experience. So, like, when I first got here,
we had a few phone interviews. They were terrible.
Awful.
Yeah,
quite
literally.
awful.
I could not get you
the
to start
first phone call
me.
I had, that's a complete lie. So
like,
let's just not. Yeah. No. So I think the first couple weeks I was here, I think I'm pretty good in front of camera in terms of social media and stuff like that. So, like, I thought when they were like, hey, Nick, like, cold call some gyms and stuff like that. Like, here you go. You'll be fine. It's clearly not the same thing. And I know some people say it's easy. It's really not. Cold calling stores, even though there's a phone there and even if you have a great personality, it's not as easy as people make it out to be, because some people just they don't have that skill set. And it's something that we've talked about over time where it's like, again, it's almost like muscle memory. You really have to do it over and over again. And some people just have it and some people don't. For me, cold calling stores, I'm not going to say I don't. It's definitely not my strength. I'll tell you that right
I would
now.
say this too. Everyone has a different way of going about it.
Yeah.
Everyone has their it can't be taught. You can tell them like, hey, listen, here's kind of a written script you can do.
Yeah.
But it really can't be taught because everyone has their own spin on it. Like, the way I do it is not the way you're going to do it. I know Tom will talk somebody basically till death where they're like, all right, just please, if you stop talking,
I will buy everything.
Just whatever
Works
you need.
every
It's
time.
surprising the company's not,
Works every time.
Yeah. But, and then, Frankie's very lovable. You get him on the phone. Yeah. Frankie's, you hear him anytime. Frank, when he calls somebody, it sounds like he's calling his best friend since childhood. And it's like, Frank, who'd you get the phone with? it's some person in Alaska. They just opened a store, and I'm like,
12 stores. There you go. It's a
you just-
machine.
I think you just told the guy have him come christen your kid, and he's like, yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
That's true. Frank's signature, congrats on all of your success. And then the guy goes, but I just opened.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah,
That's what I meant.
exactly.
So it's definitely, everyone has a different spin on it. Some people are better on it than others. I was always definitely better in person, but I think everybody is, right? It's like kind of like what you're saying. It's easier to sell yourself in person
Yeah.
than it is over the phone.
Significantly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you find when you were where he was in terms of retail, things like that, did you have an easier transition in terms of calling customers and things like that?
Oh, my story is terrible because I went into wholesale before I came to the brand side. And so my first job was at this big wholesale company called UNFI, and I worked at the division called Select Nutrition. Long story short, they were like the vitamin arm distributor. And I had to cold call 460 accounts that I'd never talked to. It was just a book of business. Last sales rep quit, fired, whatever. And I mean, I wanted to hide in the bathroom for like 3 weeks. Like, it was rough. Yeah. And because I felt so confident in my communication skills in person, because I worked in retail for years, so I'm like, this is easy. No, it's so different. And so I really had an uphill battle learning how to communicate differently when it's not visual. And it's an uphill battle.
Yeah.
It was for me.
It just takes time. Like, I remember calling, the first customers I was calling, we used to call like on truck routes. I called the same person like 3 times in a row, potentially. I didn't know what an RTD was. It's like, you with softball, right? You got to go up there. You have to, you practice, you get better and better. After a certain amount of calls, you get it, right? Yeah. You find your way. Like Johnny said, everyone's got their own little way that they're going to make it work.
Yeah.
And it's just repetition. Because at first you can go and you start a company. You don't know exactly they can tell you about the products, but you don't know all the exact hot buttons of those products or what's going to be good for a retailer versus, somebody selling in a gym.
Or even how the company operates. Yeah. What's an MCV? What's a chargeback? How do returns work?
You ship it today? I'm not sure. Let me check.
I remember being at Cellucor for maybe like my first day or two, and everyone they have like a discount, like what you can offer and stuff. But like it hadn't processed in my brain, like, oh, I can just offer any discount I want between 5. I remember like telling the kid, but like, why did you offer him 10%? Like, what gives you that like reason? And he's like, well, he's the customer. It's kind of like discretion. But I'm like, is there a way you came to 10%? Like, how does that work out? Like, I was so
where is the math on that?
And my boss's boss just came in from the other room, and he's like, you can just do that. It's okay. Don't freak out. It's just a couple bucks. Like, but yeah,
in contrast to when John came here and we said there are no deals.
Yeah, 0 deals.
Yeah, we're actually raising the prices, and you got to tell everybody.
Yeah.
So when it came to, I guess this is a question for all 3 of you, because I'm not the best at that. That's one of my weaknesses in terms of calling customers and cold call, stuff like that.
Wow, I thought you meant math. Go. Sorry.
No, that as well. No, but when it comes to calling stores and let's say in terms of facing adversity, your customer isn't buying. They don't want to buy from you, and it's call after call after call. When does it, or like what adjustments do you make in terms of calling customers?
I mean, I think like Frank said, Johnny said, everyone has their own approach. The only 2 things I try to do is always ask a question and always make something about them. So if you can learn something about them that gives you informational leverage and creates a relationship, a bond, a connection.
Makes it personal.
Yeah, and ask questions, because people like to answer questions. People like to be talked to and asked. They don't want to be sold to. And so
like
if you
talk
can
about themselves,
so if you can present it that way, I think that creates relationship value. It creates connection, because you're not asking them to buy something. When did you open the store? Yeah. What's your top category? Yeah. What are your top brands? What days do you like your shipments to come on? What can I do better on the next order? I didn't try to sell you anything. I'm just asking questions about your business.
Just call and check up on you.
Be a good listener.
I think people make too much of it. Simplify it. Solve a problem. Yeah. Find a problem they have. Fix it. Yeah. People like people that can solve a problem. Yeah. It's kind of like bringing your car in to get it repaired. If you think you need new brakes, and then the guy just tells you, hey, it's not your brakes. It's just something silly. Or you had metal, or you had a branch stuck in there, and I solved your problem without charging you anything, just right off the bat. Okay, I like you.
Yeah,
that's a win.
Yeah.
Wait, are you saying we just give stuff away?
No, we're not doing that.
I mean,
I only mess it.
I would, maybe.
I think it comes back to, and Tom has said this on a few other podcasts. It's just for example, we talk about it every time, is Protolite, the product itself. People, Tom has felt, we have solved an issue. It's whey protein isolate. The flavors are amazing. You're hydrated. You could digest it. And it's kind of solved that problem for people with digestive issues, with lactose issues, and things along that line.
I think you have to do that with communication, with selling, with products. It's really consumer interaction, whatever level that consumer's on, whether they're a retailer or an end consumer.
So to kind of piggyback off of, now you're in law enforcement, has anything changed? Has there been any hurdles for you when it comes to...
Oh, God, diet, yeah. Diet,
nutrition, all
diet,
that
nutrition. Listen, you work in the sports nutrition industry, excuse me. You're constantly working around people, like-minded people, right? Like, everyone's eating healthy. Everyone's trying to be in shape. What meetings do you have to go to? Everybody wants to look good for the meeting, the conference, the Arnold, the expos, yada, yada, yada. My nutrition has gone down significantly. And that's just on, I always blame myself, right? I'm not going to say it's because I changed jobs, but clearly, like, I work a midnight shift. I'm going against the grain. When everyone else is getting 8 hours of sleep, I'm putting in my 8.5 hours to come home, watch my kid. Now, I'm not, listen, everyone's got problems. I know, like, everyone's got, not problems, but everyone's got, like, stuff going on, things to do. But it's definitely hard, not only working midnights, but also in a much higher stress job. Mm-hmm. My nutrition is definitely lacking. Yeah. It's definitely tough. And it's, whereas I used to, it's kind of like, I feel like the same reason people go to a gym and maybe do better going to the gym than working out at home is you go to the gym, you see other people working out, kind of encourages you to work out more, stay longer, do more. Yeah. I don't work, it's not like I'm working around people that are constantly eating 6 ounces of chicken, 5 carbs, something stupid, whatever. Yeah. But my eating is definitely way off.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you guys, you went from distribution, then you started VMI, was there any, I'm assuming there was, because we're all human, did you guys see a dip in terms of whether it was your training, nutrition, anything along those lines?
You ever seen the picture of Tom? He's like 300 pounds.
Yeah, that was one of the worst times for me in terms of my health and nutrition. And I just wasn't prepared. I wasn't disciplined enough, but I had been so far removed from proper training and nutrition that had really been a staple for me for so long. So I got so involved in the business side and trying to do good. And then when we made the jump to the brand side full time, my daughter had just been born. So I'm trying to put time in at home, but I'm trying to put time in with the business, but we really didn't have anybody. So a lot of the meetings or sales I was doing a lot of that myself early on. So it was terrible. I was probably 276 is the highest I can remember weighing. And I was a balloon, man.
What are you, 274 now?
Yeah. So we'll get you a scale and a calculator on your way out. So I think that was tough for me to really manage coming back from that. And I really had to take it seriously because it was unhealthy. Yeah. And I think a lot of people, like Johnny said, it's changed. Everyone's got stuff, but it's how do you deal with that? Yeah. I dealt with it very poorly. Poor stress management. I just, I was overstimulated. Caffeine was the answer and lack of training, and all of a sudden you're 276
right.
and you
I don't think it's fair that we blame caffeine. Caffeine didn't do anything to anybody, all right? Listen,
it stopped helping.
I'm going to pound 64s a day. Let's leave that alone, all right?
Yeah, I think a lot of it also has to do with, as life goes on, your priorities change. So you have a family, you have a kid, and things, the gym isn't as mandatory, as important as it once was in your life. You were once a bodybuilder. You started a business. It's taking.
You were a bodybuilder?
Okay.
Yeah, he was.
It's finding the time too, right? Especially when you first get married, you have kids. It's challenging trying to figure it out. All right, when am I going to go to the gym? Okay, I'm going to go to the gym at this time. Nope, you can't go that time. So it's it's a balancing act in regards to getting good nutrition and making sure you're working out. Mm-hmm. It was a hell of a lot easier when I was just engaged or married without kids, to be honest with you.
And I think a lot of
it gets harder.
It definitely gets harder.
It's like we say, you kind of learn as you go, and there's no blueprint to kind of look at to say, oh, well, Tom did it that way, so it's going to work out for me.
I think everyone finds their way. Yeah. It's really depending on what profession you're in and your time management, your married life, your kids, it's not a priority anymore when your priorities change, right? That's the problem. Yeah. It should be a priority. And I view it in a singular way. My priority is to live as long and healthy as possible so that I can be around for my kids and my family and blah, blah, blah. So then it has to be a priority, because if it's not a priority, eventually it'll be past the point of being fixable. And so I think a lot of people wait too long to make it a priority, and that's really the thing. Any little bit, it doesn't mean everyone's going to get 2 hours in at the gym and eat grilled chicken and broccoli all day. That's not reasonable, but are there things you can do? Sure, you can order meal prep. There's 800 meal prep companies. I order Hummus Fit. Everyone's different, but there's options. Yeah. So are there ways to get around it and make time or find it? Yeah, maybe a little bit of time and maybe less than you'd like, but you got to make it a priority if you want to be healthy.
Exactly.
And I think everyone finds their way doing that.
Yeah, to piggyback off that a little bit too, and we really use the word piggyback a lot today, huh?
Big
Just thought about
piggyback.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
big
piggyback. We've all
big
chimed in with piggyback.
We're all
It's interesting.
piggybacking.
It's just you and me.
Is my priorities, you know, like when I used to go to the gym when I was younger, or even just a couple of years ago, it was to literally look better. Now, as much as I want to look better, because that also means I'm more physically in shape and stuff.
Yeah.
I just need the mental release.
Yeah.
Right.
I need that hour and a half of just
alone time.
I will put my phone on airplane mode, and my wife knows this. Like, I need that hour and a half to just fucking reboot.
Yeah.
Can we curse on this?
Sure.
That's cool. All right. I didn't know if that.
Fucking reboot all you want to.
Yeah. I didn't know what, you know.
Say fuck as much as possible.
Just
What do you want to say?
Do you think
All right,
like
Frank, it's not like we got to go
when-
all about it.
when you're going through that adjustment period, what do you think causes, besides responsibilities?
This isn't PG, you know?
And oh wow, okay. But when it comes to that period of your life, do you think the reason why training and nutrition, whatever, for whatever reason, not goes down the toilet, but it begins to decline in terms of frequency? Do you think it's just because you have too much going on, you're too tired? What causes that eventual dip?
You can answer, John. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Go ahead. The question was directed towards you.
I think it's directed at all of us because I think we all deal with it differently. Like Frank's got 2 kids. We only have 1. I mean, everyone's different. I think it's literally discipline and priority. And so, like, I would prioritize ordering an Italian hero for dinner and sitting in front of the TV at 10 o'clock at night, like to relax or reboot or whatever.
Yeah.
That was unhealthy.
Yeah.
I had to get out of that. And so I had to figure out a way, one step at a time, versus diet. Then it's okay, I'm going to go for a walk. Then I'm going to walk with the vest. Then I'm going to get back to the gym, and so on and so forth. Yeah. And it's a transition. But if you make it a priority, you'll find a way. It's like anything else. People say, oh, you want to start a business? You'll find a way. Oh, you got to figure it. No. Yeah. Listen, if you burn the boats, you find a way, right? So like, 100%. I think people have to have that approach, but in their own way. Like everyone's, listen, we're not going to miss our kids' stuff.
Yeah.
But then, you're going to get up early or stay late or skip the movie or skip the, whatever it is. Priority. And I think the priority of being healthy, not just looking better, right? But being healthy, especially as you get older, like it has to be a priority. It's not your priorities change. Yeah. You can have additional priorities. That still has to be one. Yeah. And when it's not for people, they fall off the wagon and people can't get back on.
Yeah. I think the hardest thing too is because to quote you, the reality is that you do have a choice though, and I don't want to be the guy that's like coming from here. I have no kids and other responsibilities.
I mean, listen, once you have kids, you get married, you can kiss softball goodbye. I'm just telling you right now.
Agreed, but you have a choice. But everybody has
or you have a choice, and I think
you can still do it. Yeah,
yeah, but I think it also comes down to is what exactly you're willing to sacrifice. Because like you guys are amazing parents. You're not missing a fucking thing when it comes to your kids,
right?
But you're sacrificing. Let's just say. Like she has a recital or whatever, I can't lift today. That's what I'm sacrificing. So I think it also comes down to you guys are running a business, you have kids, you have a family, you have to pay your employees, you have to keep the lights on. Now we're moving, then we have this, we have that.
Are you trying to get me stressed out?
But I'm saying though, like I think it really is a choice that you make in terms of what's really important to you. And again, like we said before, it's a priority. So it depends on what's on the top of your priority list. And I think for a lot of people, the easiest thing to kind of just knock off, and this is just my opinion, is like, you know what, like I'll just eat a little less and I won't go to the gym because, again, it's a matter of making your health the number one priority, because the reality is if you're not around to see all those other things, you're missing it anyway.
And even if you are, if you're not healthy, you're not going to enjoy them.
Exactly.
So it's such an important choice. And I tell my daughter this. She'll come in the gym with me sometimes on weekends. But like health first. Like you have to exercise. You have to eat right. Like it's such an important thing. Monkey see, monkey do. And like if you prioritize that, then all of the other things will be better, easier. You'll sleep better. You'll get up earlier. You'll do all these different things. But like you said, it's easier.
Commercial. Sorry.
No, but I think it's
you'll eat better. You'll sleep better. You'll
if you take VMI products,
just take Protoline.
Creatine. No,
just take Protoline.
Yeah. Well, no, actually, Protolite.
You'll
that
be
does
a
happen.
better human tomorrow.
If you take Protolite, that's true.
Yes, you will.
You will be a better human. Doesn't give you wings though. No, it's priorities, choice. Like
It's
people
gotta be
make
a lawsuit.
people make. I said it doesn't give you wings. Different decisions, man. I mean, listen, you make decisions now, right? Like you're able to squeeze in softball, you have personal training clients, and you have this job. You put in a lot of hours during and after. You're, like everyone's making their adjustments. But like, if diet and nutrition and training is not something you're willing to skip, you'll skip other stuff.
Yeah.
And you'll be healthier for it.
Yeah. Exactly. No.
It's tough decisions for people.
Yeah, I think it's definitely tough, making those sacrifices because, you're choosing, sometimes you have to choose your health or something over, doing something else. If I want to play with my daughter and I'm skipping the gym that day, it's definitely tough. But, find the time to still be healthy for sure. Totally random.
Agreed.
Just started
That's a
throwing that
good
in there.
message.
It's a good message. And I think we're going to wrap it up.
Yep.
On that note, find time, make time, have a choice.
Priorities.
All right.
Thanks for coming, Johnny.
Push it to the limit, I can't go no more. Red light, no way, I'm coming back home. Long dirt road, all on my own. I'ma be the greatest, try my